Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode 102. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here on this Wednesday morning, a very busy Wednesday morning for Dave, myself, the whole Steelers Depot team. So this is what free agency feels like, Dave. It's been a wild ride, but a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So far, the Steelers have been, for lack of a better word, and for lack of what they normally are, busy for this time of year. Not huge. I mean, there's a couple notable names, obviously, but a lot of names, and it's given us a lot to talk about right now.
It is, and a couple more signings here. So whenever we spoke on our emergency podcast, I guess that would have been yesterday, or actually recorded Monday night. At the time, the Steelers had signed quarterback Mitch Trubisky and center guard Mason Cole. Since then, two more outside free agents have been put on the board, and a couple players re-signed and retained as well. So just to kind of recap, the outside signings that were reported yesterday will be made official today by the team because the new league year starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. That's going to be center guard James Daniels and cornerback Levi Wallace. And Dave, I was really excited about the Daniels signing. That one came in first, and that was my guy. That was the number one guy that this team needed to go after. Usually I do not get my wish with these kind of things and hopes and dreams. And this time they go out there and do that. And for me, Dave, this is a home run hire. James Daniels immediately becomes the best offensive lineman on the Steelers team. Not that it's saying a whole lot necessarily, but in his own right, Daniels is a very good player.
Yes, he is. And the tape backs that up as well, too. And that's a dart that you threw that hit right in the middle of the bullseye there. And it does feel good to identify a player like that. Look, we've identified several over the years. We thought, this guy be a good fit, this, that, and the other. But how many times do they actually go out and do some of those things like that? We thought that this team could, with it looking like Trey Turner was going to be gone, and just looking at the state of the offensive line and looking at how, what needs versus possible draft class was, that they needed a guy, and they needed a guy like James Daniels as well too. Got some nice long arms on him, got that kind of that wide base there. And I think, as you pointed out this morning on a post on SteelersDepot.com, this guy fits pretty much everything the Steelers like, Canada and what the offensive scheme is and everything to that degree. So, after losing David DeCastro, not having him last year at the last minute, and then them having to do what they did, and then obviously having the injuries that they had at the left guard position, this just looks like, miles away from what they had last year at one of the guard positions.
Yeah, I'll admit I was pleasantly surprised by this because once they signed Mason Cole, I thought that might kind of be the move in free agency when it comes to offensive linemen, and that they'd kind of stop after that because, how aggressive are they really going to be even with the more money that they had? But then they double dip and they go after Daniels. And there are a lot of questions about exactly the configuration of how this offensive line is going to look. I'm a little less concerned about that right now. I'm just more concerned about trying to get talent and improve this O-line overall, take steps in that direction. But yeah, Daniels, he's got everything on his side. He's got youth, still only 24, going to turn 25 here this offseason, but experience, 50-plus starts, including, all 17 games last season. He can play center, play guard. He's athletic. He's strong. He's torquey. He can work in space. And as you said,
good hand usage too.
Yeah, good hand usage. And as I wrote about in my article this morning on Steelers Depot, kind of breaking down his film a little bit more, I think a good scheme and system fit for new offensive line coach Pat Meyer. And I was really happy I could kind of tie what Meyer talked about, his ideals in pass protection, and relate that to James Daniels. And so, one, Pat Meyer likes length, and Daniels has nearly 34-inch arms, uncommon for a guard to have. B, he's been aggressive in his pass sets. He's a guy that wants to be the attacker, is capable of being the attacker, and just uses some of the techniques overall that Meyer teaches, like the hop step to defend the bull rush and things like that. And so all those things are outlined and explained in the article. So it's a good talent, it's a good system and scheme fit, and it's a good price. He's a young guy. I think he's playing his best ball. He's going to get better. All of those things come together. I mean, I'm gushing over here, but like this is just a great home run hire.
Yeah, look, and very, very position flexible, as you stated there. I think left guard, 1,689 snaps. Right guard, 1,124 snaps. 508 snaps at center. I think a lot of those came early in his NFL career. Obviously, came out of that offensive line production school of Iowa. They're not hard to do the jersey swaps on that one, was it? For some of these images here, and I think he primarily played center. Going back and looking at some of the stuff at Iowa there, the big obvious, look. First and foremost, this is this looks like a good get for the Steelers, and especially when it comes to an offensive lineman. Now there's going to obviously be, and there already has been, a lot of discussion about where is he going to play, and a lot of people thinking, well, his best spot is at center. I haven't gone back and looked at his just a few snaps of his center tape. I don't know how much I think you're suggested him at right guard, if I'm not mistaken, is what you've kind of hoping he gets penciled in there. Is there any chance that what's the chances that he plays center?
There's a chance, like I said. I mean, with the versatility along this offensive line, you could come up with 4 different configurations of these guys, and you can make an argument for it. My suspicion is that he'll be a right guard because he's played right guard the last years and played his best football last year at right guard. And this is kind of your Trey Turner replacement. Mason Cole seems to be a more experienced fit at center, so that would make more sense. So we'll see. I mean, I don't want to lock anything in. My belief is that the way things will go right now is it'll be more at left tackle, Dotson at left guard, Cole at center, Daniels at right guard, and a core for at right tackle. Could that change? Sure. And injuries that'll naturally happen during the summer and preseason may force their hand. They didn't expect Dan Moore to be their left tackle last year. Ended up happening that way. So I don't want to put anything in pen, but that's the way I'll pencil things in right now.
And it all goes back to what are they going to do at with Kendrick Green for starters. I think there. I mean, look, they've made some moves now in free agency here. They've got a lot of bodies to mix and match with at this point. I would be a bit shocked if it is. I could see it as center, I guess. I need to go watch some of the center tape there from early in his Bears career there. But I think it's going to be one of the guard spots as well, too.
Yeah, and I think right guard seems to be more likely just because that's where he really has been playing. So left guard would be, I mean, he's played there, but it's been earlier in his career. And again, I just think you take the tape that he came off last year at right guard and say, let's keep him there. But, we'll see what happens. Again, Green, he could compete. He could be in the mix. But it's hard to believe they're going to make these 2, for Pittsburgh, aggressive signings on back-to-back days at the start of free agency, with the plan of let's keep starting Kendrick Green or hand him a job or have him be a heavy favorite for a starting job. And with Cole, I watched more Cole. He's another game on him. The talent does not jump out to me. He's not, this immediate starter feeling guy the way that Daniels is. But you look at the money they paid him. To me, that's starter money. I don't know if you get paid almost, over $5 million a year on the first day of free agency to be a backup. So, is it inconceivable that Cole does not start the year? If Green plays well and develops, then that's a conversation. But to me, as we sit here today, Cole, based on the contract, feels like he's going to start somewhere, either at center or right guard.
Yeah, but as I mentioned the other night, just from what they had at that time, before they signed Cole, gave them the option still of either addressing more in free agency or in the draft. Now, obviously, you wouldn't think one would, someone like Cole would have been signed kind of at the number he was. But then again, I think Kevin Colbert is looking back at last season and kicking himself for not doing a better job, depth-wise there. So at least a guy in Cole, look, they'll obviously figure it out. I don't know if they're going to drop us a lot of hints, along the way and tell us right out. They'll tell us, well, we're going to put the best five. You know how they like to say, we're going to put the best five out there, this, that, and the other. But Cole, I like the odds better of Cole playing center than I do James Daniels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think Cole's more likely to start than not? That's kind of the first part of the conversation at any place, center or guard.
Well, look, my thoughts on Kendrick Green at this point,
Sure.
And that is you probably don't want him in that lineup at all if you can help it, unless he really shows you something there. I mean, I think you obviously give him a chance to compete and all like that. So, but Kendrick Green on the ground at center is just going to end up being Kendrick Green on the ground at guard. And, the fanboys and people, just don't want to, they don't want to hear that stuff. They don't want to hear that, that the Steelers might have messed this one up with Kendrick Green. Now is Kendrick Green salvageable to some degree? I mean, we're going to find out. I'm not saying you cut the guy right now, obviously, and I've never been in that camp of that, but we have got to see a lot of improvement from him, overall, regardless of where you move him. So, if Kendrick Green winds up being part of the starting five somewhere, it's either going to be center or left guard, because to me, why are you going to take him away from a position that he played at college if you're going to indeed move him to guard then? So, and then who would be the odd man if everybody stays healthy? This is a big if, and how I like to say at this point, everything seems to magically work itself out when you get on later into the offseason for whatever reason. Last year was injuries and all like that. But I find it hard to believe, barring injury, what's going to happen with Kevin Dotson, I guess, is the biggest thing there. Because if everybody stays healthy and if Kendrick Green is on that starting line, then I would think something has happened to Kevin Dotson in there.
Sure. Again, that's one of the many configurations. I mean, you could do something where you sit there and say that Cole doesn't start, and you can have Green at left guard and Dotson at right guard and Daniels at center. You could, flip Daniels and Cole and have Daniels at there's a lot of ways. I'm just trying to think about it in my head right now. I mean, there's a lot of ways this thing could go. So, I don't want to guarantee Dotson anything right now because he hasn't done enough to be guaranteed of anything at this point. But my thought is that Cole, based on the money, is going to start. Daniels, of course, is going to start, and Dotson just has been the better player overall, and there's probably more faith in Dotson than there is in Kendrick Green right now.
And I think the big pushback from Big Duke and some of the Brandon and some of the offensive line quote unquote gurus is that you try to keep these guys at their more I guess natural positions there. And obviously Kevin Dotson started 50 something games at Louisiana Lafayette. Daniels obviously logged a lot of time at center in college, and then they're trying to, I guess, suggest that Kendrick Green at left guard because of the fact that he, that was the spot there that he played at Illinois predominantly there. But is Kendrick Green is Kendrick Green better than Mason Cole at either guard or center, really? The thing with Cole is as we talked the other day, I think he's a better run blocker than he is a pass protector. I don't think there's any doubt at that. And if his weakness is going to be at the center position, in pass protection, I'd rather have him at the center position, to be quite honest with you. And, obviously got to dive deeper and look at all the snaps and all the positions there. But I would think his best spot is probably center.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And listen, I totally get their points about keeping guys at the most natural positions and the impact that moving those guys can have. I totally understand that. But if Cole's going to start, it's going to be hard to put all those guys maybe in their natural positions, because that probably means that, if Cole's at center, let's say, then Daniel's going to be at right guard. They're going to only have one of Dotson at left guard, or Kendrick Green at left guard. So, and at this point, I understand again that natural kind of muscle memory, but Dotson's been a 2-year starter at left guard. Daniel's played a lot of right guard the last 2 years, and played, he's played all over. So it's not like Dotson has barely ever played left guard before. By this point, he's pretty comfortable at the position. And I understand, maybe naturally he's just a more right-hand dominant guy or whatever the case is. So, maybe there's still value in moving him back. But I don't want to pretend like the guy is a fish out of the water at left guard, because he's played there quite a bit at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, not nowhere near the amount of time,
well, I mean, he spent 2 years. I mean, he's 4 years at right guard, 2 years at left guard. I mean, eventually, comfort's comfort. He's probably pretty comfortable at left guard at this point. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I think I would much rather, if I had my druthers, I would probably put him at right guard, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, again, if they did that, I'd be like, that's fine. I certainly see the sense in doing that, but I don't think keeping him at left guard is like this big hindering factor that's going to determine if he passes or fails in his NFL career.
Let's see. Last year, 564 snaps at left guard. 2020 was with the Steelers. 199 at right guard, 165 at left guard there. So he's got, I don't know what, about 700 snaps at left guard right now.
Right. And there's also obviously practice and training camp and preseason and just individual reps. And I mean, as a rookie, Dotson played well at both right guard and left guard. I was surprised how well he played at left guard for being a position he had not played before. So just overall, he looked good his rookie year at both guard spots. So, I mean, obviously he's got some ability to play left guard.
Right. I mean, look, we've seen he's got tape on him at left guard, so there's that. So here's the drill down here. They have multiple players that have a lot of position flexibility here. You got a guy in Dotson that can play both guard spots. You have a guy in Kendrick Green that is trying to play guard and center. You got a guy in Daniels that can play that has played all three spots at the NFL level, and you have a guy like Cole that has indeed also played all three spots at the NFL level there. So, I guess the arguments are all summer now at this point. I guess a good argument to have is who's going to play where.
Yeah, and while it is very cliche to say, it is about finding your best five and just adding enough talent there that hopefully things get better in the right direction. I think the Daniels and even the Cole signing are putting Pittsburgh in the right direction. Is this line perfect? No. Does it still have work to do? Sure. There's a lot of growth and development from young guys that need to occur. But I think, to me, Dave, I look at not where this line has been at, but where it's going. It's a young offensive line. Guys are improving. To me, Daniels played really good football last year. Dan Moore played better the last 8 weeks in the first 8 weeks of the season. Kevin Dotson year 3, even Kendrick Green in year 2. These are all guys you would expect meaningful improvement from. So while it might not look good in the rearview mirror in the future, and kind of seeing some of the glimpses and flashes and where this group can go, that's the part that has me excited.
Well, youth and pedigree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still no, obviously, when you look at the guys under contract right now, no first round guys. James Daniels now becomes your highest pedigree guy, second round guy. And then, obviously, I don't know what you think if Chaz Green's something's probably going to have to go wrong for Chaz Green to make this roster. But, you got a couple of 4 third-round guys under contract now in Chaz Green, Mason Cole, Chukwuma Okorafor, and Kendrick Green. You've got 3 fourth-round guys in Banner, Dotson, and Dan Moore, 5th-round guy in Joe Haig, and the other 4 guys. And that includes J.C. Hassenauer, undrafted free agent, and Hassenauer obviously can play both guard spots and the center spot as well too. Not a first rate. In past offensive lines that we've seen for the Steelers, especially with that most recent goon squad that they had, you had quite a few former first round draft picks and in there, and a second round draft pick at that in. Marcus Gilbert there. So not the degree of pedigree that what they had, in that last, offensive line that they got a long run with.
Right, but there is some talent and some big improvements. And I think again, Daniel's a great signing. What is it, 3 years, just under 27 million overall. So I think it's a good contract. I thought he would come in around 10 million, so it's a little bit under that, which I'm happy to see. And now it's up to new offensive line coach Pat Meyer to bring this group together.
I wonder how much just how many options he had out there at that number, because kind of wondered if that was a guy that was going to be heavily pursued.
Yeah, I hadn't heard any reports of other teams who showed interest. When Daniel's name came up, it was the Pittsburgh. So I'm guessing he had some suitors. And I know people will ask, and it's a fair question to ask, but it's true of any free agent that gets signed. Why did the Bears not want to re-sign this guy if we're talking about him so highly? And I don't have a good answer to that. They do have a new regime, a new head coach, new GM. It could be a different schematic philosophy, or just kind of obviously they're not as attached to him as the Bears, Ryan Pace old regime was. So that's kind of my best answer to that. And again, you could ask that of any free agent. Why was he not retained by his previous team?
Oh yeah, you can say that every offseason about every free agent that's signed, right? Yeah, that goes elsewhere there. I don't from what I've seen on the tape so far, I don't know how to answer that question. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, from a tape standpoint, I did not have a good answer for that. But again, just some overall front office standpoint of all the changes there. It is a brand new regime. Then I could understand, obviously some of those guys are going to leave because they traded Khalil Mack, for example. Like they're cleaning house, they're getting their guys in, they're kind of building this up from the ground floor. So it makes sense why Daniels was not actually retained.
And, it doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot, but it means a little something. You get a guy in James Daniels that's, played some with Mitchell Trubisky already, right? So there's going to be some familiarity there, and you would expect, I don't know who you would expect to be the leader of your offensive line at this point. I mean, Daniels seems to be the perfect perfect guy for that. Either him or Corfor's really doesn't seem to be, that overly vocal, when it comes to that. I don't know what James Daniels' kind of background is on that, kind of what guy he is on the in the locker room there. But this offensive line does need a very visible, I think a more visible kind of spokesman, if you will. We haven't, I think Zach Banner's tried to have been that lately, but hard to lead when you're over there clapping on the sideline, right?
Turner was a good leader last year, but obviously he's out of the mix, presumably.
Right. So maybe James Daniels will be that guy. Look, here's another long and short of it right here. We went into this thing thinking, oh man, they got to get this offensive line better. They got to get this this running game better. And as we stated right after the Mitchell Trubisky signing, and it was part of my terrible take yesterday, the only way this team's going to win right out of the chute here in 2022 is if they get Mitchell Trubisky some help, and that help has got to come in the form of a running game, and a byproduct of that, obviously that offensive line has just got to get better. That's part one. Part two is the defense is going to have to do, once again, they're going to have to lead the league probably, or be up in the league in sacks. They're going to have the takeaways. This isn't just going to be the Mitchell Trubisky show. You didn't just sign Mitchell Trubisky to come in and be a guy that's going to swipe away, snatch 4 victories from the jaws of defeat for you in a season here. The only way this team's going to win games consistently is if they run the football, plain and simple, and they get good defensive play here. And even just adding, we had what was the core 4, I think we're signing first, right? So that was the first thing. Domino that fell, and who was second? Cole, I think.
Cole, yes.
And even at that point, you're kind of okay, all right. But really, the Daniels signing really lets you know that they're serious about addressing this.
Yeah, and if let's say Cole, because the way that I view Cole so far is like he's stable, he's steady, he's not too high, not too low, and if Green hypothetically goes to the bench, which I think is certainly a very distinct possibility, you're eliminating that kind of big liability and weak link, and the guy that you really just don't know what you're going to get from play to play. And I understand this guy's probably going to grow and improve in year 2. And I think, again, Pittsburgh mismanaged him and misevaluated him and did not put him in a good spot to succeed last season. But the bottom line is that he was a major liability out there. So if your O-line has decent talent and no liabilities, you can kind of build it from there. And you're right, Dave. I mean, the overall philosophy has to be very like 04, 05, ball control, run the ball, play good defense, get sacks, get takeaways, short fields, good special teams, stuff like that, because it's not going to be about this throw the ball around the yard offense and win by throwing 40 plus times.
Right.
So overall, happy with the signing, and I think Pittsburgh moving in the right direction. And then for the draft, I mean, offensive line early probably becomes even less and less of a possibility at this point.
Look, I mean, when you're looking at more offensive linemen, either in free agency or the draft, nothing says you can't add to it, right? But it's looking a lot less likely at this point.
Yeah, I think certainly they could look towards a day 3 guy and still add somebody, maybe a tackle. I think that is certainly possible. We'll see what happens with Zach Banner in that contract. But I think early on, it becomes a lot less likely with the Daniel signing, especially, but you add in the Cole signing, re-signing a core for. You think offensive line, not going to rule it out, but greatly reduced odds following yesterday's news.
Right.
And quick former Steelers news here. Artie Burns signing a 1-year, $2 million contract with the Seattle Seahawks. So congrats to Artie Burns, and hopefully his career can remain ongoing in Seattle. All right, Dave.
That's an interesting sign. It has to be for the minimum, right?
Well, they said $2 million. I don't know if that's up to or what the actual terms of that are, but $2 million according to Adam Schefter via Drew Rosenhaus. So kudos to Artie. All right, Dave. So after the Steelers addressed the offensive line, they went to the secondary. This came in late on Tuesday or Tuesday evening-ish with the signing of former Buffalo Bills cornerback Levi Wallace to a 2-year, $8 million contract. Wallace, again, has youth. I think he's still 26 years old with 50-something starts. Played well for the Bills last year, kind of viewed as their number 2 corner, opposite of Tre'Davious White. And so Levi Wallace entering the fold for Pittsburgh. Dave, your thoughts?
Long guy, they're just like they like him, like long, 6 foot.
What's his arm like?
Long as far as height. Long.
Oh, okay.
But he does have shorter arms. But
no, he's got 32 3/4. That's good length.
Is it?
That's what Wikipedia versus Friday the Combine's telling me.
I thought I saw it was. I thought I saw a different number on him. But long in general period, not as fleet of foot. Former undrafted free agent. They're out of Alabama. Spent time with Minka Fitzpatrick, so there's some familiarity when it comes to a guy like him. 2 years, $4 million. That's cheap. It's going to produce obviously a low first-year cap number for him on that. A guy that when you look at his tape, plays a lot better in smaller spaces. A guy that I think the thing that one of the things that stuck out the most to him is change of direction ability with Levi Wallace. I like the way that he's able to stop on a dime and get going the other direction. Quite a few of his breakups have him doing a great break on the football, driving down into the field there. As far as tackling skills go, very, very willing guy. It's not pretty all the time when it comes to him, but a more than willing tackler. So there's Mike Tomlin on my screen right there, looking at the bench at University of Georgia. But with Wallace, he is a willing tackler. Is going to be have some issues with that long speed of his, and I think that's one of the things that ended up having him go undrafted there. You're gonna struggle, I think, with speed. Running with guys down the field there. And as far as the physicality goes, as far as in coverage and all, has a tendency to get out-muscled a little bit. Some of his timing on some of his leaps isn't ideal on top of it. But if you want to compare him to a guy like Ahkello Witherspoon, you get probably a little, you get a little bit less of a coverage guy in kind of one-on-one type stuff, I think, but you get a better guy against the run and a better tackler overall. And then, you do get some familiarity. He plays well in small spaces.
Okay. Yeah, that's the guy that I've not gotten to do much homework on. My night last night was dedicated towards James Daniels and Mason Cole. I mean, obviously I have an overall bio of Wallace, and you're right. He seems to be a guy that's a willing tackler, good in run support. The number that I pulled since 2019, the most tackles against the run by outside corners. Wallace is third on that list. First is Charvarius Ward, and second is Joe Hayden. Wallace third with 53. Hayden has 55 run tackles over the last 3 seasons. So you see a guy that's certainly going to put his face in the fan as you're outlining. The question, though, is, how much can he cover? And do you have a guy on either side that can cover number one guys? Jamar Chase twice a year, Amari Cooper, whoever else gets brought in, whoever else you face. You're going to play, Tampa Bay is going to cover Mike Evans in that game, for example. So that story there, are they going to be able to find and have that higher level athlete cover guy? Because Wallace seems to be good, but it's not viewed as that, obviously lockdown number one type of corner.
It's going to be interesting to see if they do anything else. They have to add to that room period still. I think we agree on that. I don't think Witherspoon, you would think that there's a good chance that Witherspoon's out of the picture now. That's kind of I'm sorry. What did I say early? 2 years, $4 million. 2 years, $8 million. Right? With
2 years, $8.
Wallace. I was looking at. Got all these figures laying around in front of me here. You would think that's kind of the deal that they would have offered to Witherspoon, right?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. I got some pushback because whenever they announced the Wallace signing, I said I'm guessing the door is closed on Witherspoon returning, and I know there was the report or tweet from NFL Network from Aditi that said he's signing soon, but then we talked about on the show that she had said something differently on NFL Network on one of her live shots when she said that he has received the contract and is looking it over. Did not say that he was signing it soon there. So my guess, and this is just my guess, is that they offered Witherspoon the contract. He looked it over, didn't like the terms. They tried to negotiate maybe and couldn't come to an agreement. And they said, well, we're going to go find someone else then. Okay. And basically the deal they offered Witherspoon is what they gave Levi Wallace, because 2 years, $8 million seems to be about what Witherspoon would have been worth. And so is there a chance he comes back? Maybe, but my feeling is that they've already got a corner, probably someone who's going to start and, either your base 3-4 is your left cornerback opposite of Cam Sutton. So Witherspoon's going to go try to find a starting opportunity somewhere else. So my read of it is that, yes, they have to add more corners to this room. The room is not done, but to Witherspoon specifically, I really do not like his odds of returning to Pittsburgh.
Right. And that's why I say I don't think the odds are not great. I don't think it's totally out of the question, but it's not looking good. I would have thought that's the kind of contract that I thought would have went to him.
Right. Yeah. I think that's kind of the way they just, they crossed out the Witherspoon name on the contract and just wrote Levi Wallace and gave it to him and he signed it. So, again, I think you do want to add corners, maybe another one in free agency, definitely through the draft, I would think. And I think you want to look for maybe a more high upside kind of true cover corner. The run defense for Wallace is nice, but the name of the game is still being able to cover and defend some of these, top level athletes at receiver. I don't think Pittsburgh has that. Sutton, is limited physically, and against those super athletic traits guys at Justin Jefferson and Chase and Tyreek Hill, Sutton has struggled. And I know, to me, in a perfect world, you still put Sutton inside. The team's been very reluctant to play Sutton in the slot outside of obvious pass situations and when there were a lot of injuries last season. So we'll see. I mean, I'm thinking right now, Wallace and Sutton are your outside corners.
Right. And look, I mean, you just look at the room overall, right? They still need to add to it. And we still got time. And look, officially the new league year has not started yet. Free agency hasn't started yet. Tavon Young's still out there. What a fit that guy would be if you get him for the right price and if he can stay healthy. And he stayed healthy last year. And that's been one of the bigger knocks on Tavon Young was he couldn't stay healthy, but he stayed healthy last year. Look, it wouldn't be a knock your socks off, but it's a Steelers kind of ad when you look at a guy like Tavon Young, especially on the heels of them losing a guy like Mike Hilton last year. You're still going to need at least one more outside guy, maybe a boundary type corner type when it comes to that. Is that going to come in free agency here the rest of the way? Depth, you would think if they do, it would be under a $4 million per number. What's Joe Hayden's price right now? If you got Joe Hayden back at a good enough price to at least let him start the season, could you do that if you had Joe Hayden at 1 year, $3.5 million?
I probably wouldn't at this point, because then again, who's your high-level corner, cover corner? You're not really adding that guy. You're adding some guys that'll play the run hard, some tough, smart players. But I want a different kind of type of corner. And then in the slot, yeah, I'd be all for Tavon Young, but they did re-sign Arthur Millette. Trey Norwood's going to have a role. That'll probably be more in the slot in 2022, and so they want to play him because he played well as a third down, cover guy in dime situations as a rookie, and his improvement and his arrow is going to be pointing up. So that's also going to be more reason that Sutton's going to be, remain on the outside. So we'll see. I think he adds through the draft. I think you find that that better athlete, that guy that runs 4.4 something and proves that he can cover even if he's a bit raw and not a great tackler and has to improve run defense, stuff like that. But I think that's the type of guy that you go after that's probably better done through the draft than as opposed to free agency.
I tell you, I guess the way the free agency has gone so far, I'm still in firm belief that this thing is set up for the Steelers' potential to go quarterback, and specifically Malik Willis in the first round. However, now if they don't go that way, and now that they have added James Daniels, prior to them adding James Daniels, I was like, okay, this is probably setting up to be a Zion Johnson, Malik Willis potential pick. Well, now, based on kind of what they've added, and look, this could change by the time we get to Friday, the thoughts on this. It's not totally out of the question, I guess, that they go defense with their first round pick.
It's not. The question is where that comes from, and that's a little harder to pin down. Mike Tomlin, as you mentioned, is at Georgia today. Jordan Davis. Georgia has just to draft the whole Georgia defense. You could do that and find a name that fits. I won't rule out corner at this point. Strong safety. Right now, my immediate attention turns to strong safety. That's kind of like the one position where there's a big vacancy at. You signed Wallace a corner. You had some offensive linemen. You get your veteran bridge quarterback in Trubisky. What's going on at strong safety? Terrell Edmonds still a free agent. Looks like he's going to officially hit the market once the new league year begins here at 4 p.m. Eastern time. No in-house replacement for him. What's going to be done there? I mentioned they're going to sign somebody. They won't go into the draft with just where it is right now. But will it be a higher level guy? Will it be more of a middling option where they're willing to draft a safety? That's a possibility as well.
It is right now. We'll have to see what happens with Edmonds. And you look at some of the market right now, what's happening at that position with some of these guys. Marcus May's off the market right now. Who else? Whitehead is off the market.
Marcus Williams was the big prize. He's going to Baltimore.
Right. You start looking around and look at what, I think the big name obviously right now that everybody's trying to talk about this morning is Tyrann Mathieu, right? The Honey Badger. But I think he's coming off of a deal that was like $13 million average yearly value. He's still on the right. Technically, he's still on the right side of 30. I don't think he turns 30 until like May or something like that. So it would fit for that. And look, they've talked up. We've heard Tomlin talk up Tyrann Mathieu in the past quite extensively there, but. At what price? To me, if you went out and got a Tyrann Mathieu, it's not going to be at $13 million. It's probably not even going to be at $10 million. Is his market that low that allows you to compete for a guy like that on, let's say, a two-year deal?
Yeah, I really couldn't tell you. I don't have a good sense of what his market is, other than he is the best safety, by far out there, and it'd be a pretty big deal if Pittsburgh was able to convince him to come to Pittsburgh. So we'll see. We'll watch it. I'm not necessarily expecting it, but I guess I cannot completely discount it either.
What, the Tyrann Mathieu thing?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, once again, you're not going to just get him for 2 years $8 million or 2 years, probably even 12 million at that point. Back to the topic in safeties though is what is Edmonds' market right now? And we know what Edmonds' market is to the Steelers, and it's not $6 million a season. So at what point, A, do they want him back? And B, is it a price point thing with him? They've said they wanted him back, in the past. We're getting the crunch time now where I would think that he's probably he's looking at a couple of deals at this point. And with that, the Steelers are not going to take him back probably more than, I don't know, $3.5 million or something like that, because they want to be able to leave themselves open to maybe to potentially draft at that position as well too. So at what price point does a guy like Terrell Edmonds become attractive to you?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We thought maybe his market value coming into this thing was in that 5 million range. Maybe it's a bit below that. Depending on what other offers he has. If he does have other offers out there, does he want to come back to Pittsburgh? Is he feeling the low and they declined his option? He took a lot of criticism here by the fan base. Maybe he wants a fresh start. I'm not sure.
I see Kevin Colbert.
Yeah, he's there too. Right. But we'll have to see. You think they probably brought some positional coaches as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking for here. And Kevin Colbert just walked past my.
I mean, Jerry O. Just trying to think where they have the big groups. They got a couple of linebackers, and they probably want to bring Olszewski. Maybe Brian Flores is there. Maybe Carl Dunbar for the defensive lineman. That would make sense.
Right. Yeah, this could be a similar pro day that we saw back. What was the Minka Pro Day 2017? Was that it? 18? Where they sent the house?
Yeah, I was thinking Michigan with Devin Bush when they sent like 8 or 9 people to that Michigan Pro Day. Yeah, well, go watch Devin Bush.
Remember, they sent a ton to that Alabama Pro Day that year too. That Mink and look, that led to familiarity obviously with the corner and Levi Wallace, right? Because that was that same pro day as well too. Now obviously Wallace went undrafted there. Obviously there's some limitation on Levi Wallace, and that leads you to think when you look at this cornerback room overall that they're still going to add. They have to add to it. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
They just cannot go in there with what they have now with Cameron Sutton and Levi Wallace and Arthur Millette and James Pierre.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're going to add to it to some extent. Just a question of how and really how aggressively and where that's going to be done. I think you'll see it through the draft to some degree. Maybe a second, third round pick is kind of where I'm at right now, but I won't rule out a first round possibility either. So yeah, more will be added. But again, to the point that I made yesterday was that I think Witherspoon's going to go elsewhere. Because I really think that contract
is that Wallace a big loss? Is that a huge loss?
Well, I mean, Witherspoon certainly played well, and I think he's a higher level. He's kind of became the best cover guy last year, like just pure cover guy. And he did show at least want to and some willingness against the run, even if he wasn't a great tackler overall. So yeah, it is a loss because he played some really good football, but you also understood, that guy's a streaky player, and you weren't sure what you were going to get over him over a full season because his career has been very, very turbulent. So. It's not irreplaceable, but it certainly is a loss because that was your best cover guy down the stretch.
1-to-1. Who are you taking in this situation? All things being equal, if both were a 2-year, $8 million contract.
I really truly need to watch Wallace more than I have, but just kind of based off what I know, I'd lean Witherspoon because I value that cover aspect a lot more. At least to have one of those guys, because I mean, how are you going to stop Chase twice a year if you can't have that guy you really trust to cover him? You have to really change things schematically, play a lot of too high, roll a lot of coverages and stuff like that. And that'll be done anyway, but still, it's heightened even more if you don't really trust that corner. So just the schematic limitations, if you don't have that guy to really take on those top dogs, really put you in a tough spot defensively.
My thoughts on Witherspoon was cautiously was approaching him cautiously when it came to free agency. Now, what I meant by that is no more than $4 million per with him, and just try to keep that guaranteed money down there because I don't think there was enough there to give you a huge warm and fuzzy. And look, I mean, Levi obviously is going to have his limitations as well too. And I think you're going to see a lot of that, especially in coverage down the field and kind of the physicality aspect. And just kind of the overall athleticism too, because sometimes he doesn't do a good job timing some of those leaps of his. He's got quite a few nice pass breakups on his tape, but a lot of them are usually kind of moving forward. You know what I'm saying? With him as opposed to down the field. However, a couple years ago, nice rep in, I think, a game against I think it was against the 49ers there, that cover one has a good clip on him with the PBU on that one there. But more than anything, you get a better tackler for sure than you had in Witherspoon.
Wonder if we'll continue to see more of a zone-based coverage scheme this year. When you have, let's assume that Wallace and Sutton start, I think you might, Wallace is reportedly a really strong zone corner. And so I wonder if you're going to see more cover 2, cover 3, certainly off man when you do play man, stuff like that this year.
Well, they obviously don't want to have to continue to commit big numbers to the box. They want to be able to solve that run issue without committing numbers to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's always ideal. It's become more and more of a too-high world. If you're going to play a lot of cover 3, though, that strong safety is going to play in the box a good bit. Edmonds played in the box just under 30% of the time last season. So you think about cover 3 versus cover 1, what they're going to run. And it might be more zone-based just based on the talent that they have.
And whether or not, we'll see what happens with Tyrann Mathieu. I think all this has kind of started because former Steelers linebacker Terrence Garvin tweeted, he kind of gave the impression the Steelers were looking at him, but, it seemed more speculative more than anything there. I don't think we really even know. I haven't seen any other report saying the Steelers are all in, or seriously going after Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, that's a guy that can obviously help you in the slot, right? For sure, even at his age right now. And a guy that with Tyrann Mathieu that's always around the football, it seems like, and especially last year, he had 3 interceptions, 1 pick 6, and I think that came against the Ravens, and around a loose football because he had 3 fumble recoveries last year as well too. So yeah, I'm not sure that Mathieu is going to end up being a Steeler, but obviously it wouldn't be a bad thing if he was.
No, it'd be a great signing. So we'll see. I don't know if Garvin was trying to wish it into existence or if he knows something from somebody somewhere. I could not tell. He did not clarify. So we'll keep an eye on it, though, for sure.
All right. What else did we talk about the Chukwuma Okorafor contract the other night?
I believe we did. We mentioned that he signed, but just to kind of recap it again, it's pretty much, and I'm pretty sure we did mention it, but it's kind of a pay-as-you-go type of structure, right, Dave?
Right. Basically, you're paying that guy $10 million this season, and you've got the option years with I believe it was $4 million roster bonuses in 2023 and 2024. So it is kind of pay as you go here. If he plays well in 2022, you pay him the roster bonus next March, and you move on with another, what was it, 10.5 or whatever the number was that you would pay him next year there. So does that totally put you out of drafting a tackle early in this thing at this point?
Probably. Again, I think you could add later in the draft, but you got more who should promise, especially the back half of last year as a rookie, a core 4. You're going to see how this year goes. I'd be pretty surprised if they went tackle top 2 rounds at this point.
Right.
All right, Dave, I think we covered the Daniels and Wallace signings pretty thoroughly. Let's talk about some other moves Pittsburgh made, re-signing one of their guys, Montravius Adams, remaining in Pittsburgh 2 years, $5 million. That move announced yesterday by ESPN's Adam Schefter. So that was one of those names where you felt like you wanted him back. You weren't quite sure if he was going to return. Would he look somewhere else, given a better opportunity with Tyson Alu returning to play his age 35 season? But Montravius Adams staying in Pittsburgh, really good find by the pro scouting staff to bring him in off the Saints practice squad. He played well last year, and happy to have him back for a full season in 2022.
Yeah, probably a million more than maybe what I envisioned the contract being there. But I think we both agreed we like the chances of him re-signing, right?
Yeah, we both predicted that he would come back to Pittsburgh, and just for him to play well and that kind of that unique play style as that quick penetrator that's not just the big plugger, but can play the run, can offer you something as a sub-package pass rusher. Interesting guy that I want to see more of, and I think him having a full off season and a training camp, not being thrown in the fire, will only be a benefit for him.
The thing is, you're not going to have much guaranteed money involved in this, and this is at worst going to give you some depth and a guy that can, you know, provide you experience depth, plain and simple. And he did play well, I thought, overall once he was added, and had to kind of be added on the fly at that. And man, I mean, they went right from the street right into the lineup with him. So having a full off season and kind of knowing what to expect will help Montravius Adams. And obviously everybody hoping Tyson Alualu is back in 2020 form in 2022. We'll see what happens with Stephon Tuitt, but once again, definitely an upgrade over Henry, the Henry Mondos and that kind of world there, and the Isaiah Buggs and really both of the Davis brothers, at this point as well too. And on top of it, the contract's not going to tie you down. Whereas, if Jordan Davis was sitting there at 20th overall, becomes super attractive for you. And that's a guy that you could probably, if we're talking about just a pure plugger, plain and simple, when it came to Jordan Davis, you're probably less apt to maybe go that way with the first round pick. But because he could give you something as a pass rusher and potentially some as a nickel guy, that would be potentially a reason to think that maybe they might go a defensive tackle in the first round.
Right. I'm still not sure where I stand on Davis as an actual pass rusher. I think he's a good athlete, but I think those things aren't always one and the same, athlete versus pass rusher. But there is certainly upside there, and he's just so darn good against the run. He can change your whole defensive structure. And in an AFC North, even though it's a pass-happy world, and certainly the teams can throw the football, but when you're playing the Bengals, you're playing the Ravens, you're playing the Browns, all teams that have great running backs, great run-oriented offenses, you better stop the run. That's going to be a theme of this thing every single season. So even for that run defense value alone, to me, Davis could be worth it. Then you throw on potential upside and athleticism, and not just him being a big body that can't move. This guy can move. He can chase and run after the football. That makes Davis attractive, and certainly Pittsburgh taking a look at him today at Georgia.
When you look at the mandate, got to run the football better, got to stop the run, right?
Yep. Right.
That's why another reason why it wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah. Now I will say, if we assume that Tuitt comes back, and it's still an if, and we still do not know if Tuitt's coming back or not, but if Tuitt comes back and you have a defensive line room, you're six, you're going to carry six, you're going to have a group consisting of Tuitt, Hayward, Alualu, Wormley, Loudermilk, and Adams. That to me is a strong six. And to me, part of the run defense improving was just getting guys healthy and just having guys available who weren't available last year. Alualu, hopefully the return of Tuitt. Young guys growing and developing, especially as a Loudermilk, Montravius Adams, you bring him back. That to me is a solid six right there. That doesn't mean you can't add a top talent in Jordan Davis. You certainly could. But even if you don't go that route in the draft, I'd still be very comfortable with those six, again, assuming and if Stephon Tuitt returns.
Right, and look, I mean, you didn't have Tuitt all year, right? And you lost Alualu
5 quarters in.
Yeah, first half of the game against the Raiders there. And it's like that meme of the kid going downhill on the over the cliff. At that point you lose two key cogs like that, and then you have a rookie trying to cut his teeth behind that. And look, remember last year we were saying, boy, Chris Wormley owes this team some snaps. Well, they got him back, and some. I think we're square with him. But even so, do you want that guy to have to play 700 snaps for you?
Sure, if he can be a rotational guy, then all the better. But yeah, the issues last year is you were playing a lot of Isaiah Buggs, who looked lost out there, Henry Mondo, who was not Kim Hayward was trying to play nose tackle last year because they were just trying to do something to figure it out before they signed Adams off the practice squad. So you had Mondo playing, you had Buggs playing, you had Daniel Archibong playing a little bit. I mean, it just got real ugly real fast. Loudermilk was a rookie trying to figure stuff out, playing more than what the team hoped for, I'm sure. So if you just eliminate those things in itself, then you're already taking a big step forward to improving your run defense.
I mean, the fact that it got so bad and it tells you a lot about what they think about Carlos Davis and really Khalil Davis, at that, that they had to get Adams like they did and get him up to speed as fast as they did and get him the snaps that they did, tells you a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So,
and
by the way,
that's why they re-signed him, too, because of the way he
yeah,
played on top of it.
yeah. Browns releasing tight end Austin Hooper as a post June 1st designation. That was kind of the expected move whenever they retained Njoku. So that's coming from Jeremy Fowler. Some AFC North news there. But yeah, on
Well,
Adams.
they don't know if they're coming or going, do they?
Yeah, the Browns, we'll talk about them more here in a little bit there with Deshaun Watson. But yeah, it's just I don't want to say they're the old Browns, but they have some shades of the old Browns right now.
Right.
Dave, some more things here. This is according to us, actually. So kudos to you for breaking the story here. J.C. Hassenauer has has he been officially tendered or signed it, or you explain it better than
we
I
don't
can?
know if he signed it yet,
Okay.
but it's not. He can't. He's got
No choice.
like officer and a gentleman, which that means absolutely nothing to you. He's got nowhere else to go. Exclusive rights free agent tenders are just that. They're exclusive rights, and either you sign the tender or you don't play. And the tender is for the minimum $895,000, and there you go. That's it. And it's only if he hasn't signed it, it won't take long for him to sign it.
Right. So he'll come back and compete and be, interior depth. And I'm not sure how much he'll be in the mix for a starting spot, but again, he provided some stability last year. He can play guard, can play center. I really see him as a center only. I mean, he can play guard, but I really do not want him to play guard under most or really any circumstances, but he'll be in the mix as well. And that's nice to have him.
Right. Gives you an experienced guy at the bottom of the depth chart there.
For sure. All right, Dave, some other news that came out. If that wasn't enough news for us to handle, the comp picks were announced yesterday, a little bit later than usual. It was weird to see them come like the day before the new league year, but Pittsburgh, not unexpected, getting a 4th-round comp pick and a 4th-round comp pick only. That's 138 overall. So the first compensatory pick of the 4th round, that is for the loss of Bud Dupree. So officially, the way the comp formula calculated things is the losses were Bud Dupree, Matt Filer, and Mike Hilton, and the gains were Akella Witherspoon and Joe Haig. And yes, the trade from Seattle does count against Pittsburgh. Trades do carry over in the comp formula. And Joe Haig counted because he played above 25% of the snaps. He came in at about 26% because he started and played every single snap in the finale. So that you can't blame Pittsburgh for it because they were trying to win, get in the playoffs, but that, cost Pittsburgh a 5th-round pick right there. So officially a 4th-round pick, compensatory-wise, for the loss of Bud Dupree.
And I think that's where our buddy Nick Corte kind of had whittled down when it came to them. Nick didn't have a great day this go around with the projections and the compensatory stuff and all like that. And I think they've probably changed up that formula a little bit this time around, and that's what got him. I mean, I've seen that guy nail like, what do they normally have, like 33? Is it 33? That's what's the max that the number can be?
I think it's 32, 33.
Yeah, 32 or 33. And I mean, that guy's money on that, and I think he had quite a few misses this year. And I think he's got a long, for anybody who wants to read it. By the way, if you're going to read about this kind of stuff when it comes to the cap and using numbers and good info on the cap, use overthecap.com, folks. If you're using Sport Track, man, you are in danger. And even a major media, for some reason, is referencing people to Sport Track instead of Over the Cap, and that does not make sense at all. And if you want to be one of the cool kids, you'll be getting your info just regardless when it comes to stuff like compensatory stuff and draft pool and rookie pool and stuff like that. You're going to get it from Over the Cap. Shame on you if you're quoting or using Sport Track stuff. I've seen so many errors with that guy over there. It's unreal.
Yeah, Over the Cap is the place that we use, and we use exclusively. That's the number one place I go to every single time I have a cap related question that I don't want to bug you about. So it goes Dave Bryan first, and then Over the Cap second. That's my ranking of salary cap information sources.
Yeah, and look, I mean, even Over the Cap, they have yet to account for Joe Schobert's reduction from his per game roster bonus. So, technically there's 17,600 off, but I just think that, he's got all those teams to kind of keep up with there.
Yeah.
That one kind of slid through the cracks there. Cause what happened is they made a change prior to the switch over, then it switched back, and then they changed it again as far as the NFLPA goes. So, you literally have to monitor that stuff every day on the NFLPA sheet, and then go back and try to back out, where one of those surprising changes came from. But they've got the $80,000 credit in there. They do a good job overall when it comes to not only every team's cap, but the Steelers cap in general.
Yeah, so shout out to them. And hey, Corte got it right for Pittsburgh, so at least he did that for Steelers fans. So nothing unexpected there. So 4th round pick for Bud Dupree. So officially they'll have first, second, third, fourth, 6, 7, 7, assuming that 6 is still staying in place from the Ingram trade.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything otherwise when it comes to that.
Right, so that's the way Pittsburgh will be rolling into the draft as we sit here today, at least.
And look, we've still got a lot. Let's see what the James Daniels numbers accounted for. The Steelers I have them at 16, 8, 7, 1. 230, so almost getting close to 17 million under the cap, pending the contracts of Trubisky, Mason Cole, Miles Killebrew, Montravius Adams, and Arthur Millette. We still don't know specifics and cap. You can kind of guesstimate on a lot of these things, but we don't know them absolutely. You might as well obviously go ahead and add in Wallace, because he was new when I posted that tweet out the last time as well too. We don't know specifics as far as layout goes on that, and I see a lot of people clamoring, well, did they have enough space to do this? Do they have enough space? Look, as we said right from the go, they have enough space to do anything really that they want, this offseason, as opposed to other offseasons. We'll find out pretty soon what's going to happen with Cameron Hayward by the 20th to find out if they're going to restructure that to free up a little bit of money when it comes to there. We still don't know what's going to happen if with Joe Schobert and Zach Banner.
At what point do we think those guys are going to stay?
You get past
today.
March 20th, you really start to wonder.
What happens on the 20th? Is that
just a few days? You'd have to think that they're calculating, kind of working cap space from the, because 20th is the date that's attached to Cam Hayward and those kind of things there. So usually I like to wait till a few days after the start of the new league year to really say, okay, I got a pretty good direction with, or idea which direction they're going to go. But generally in the past, we've seen now terminations with the Steelers, especially guys that have been with the team before, happen 4 or 5 days out generally, with the William Gays of the world, and I'm going back to Will Allens of the world, and those kind of things. Now we've seen those kind of dates kind of shrink, I think, over the years, right? We could get at 4:00 this afternoon and they say we've terminated the contracts of Joe Schobert and Zach Banner and those kind of things. I would think, though, and here's the other thing: have any of those guys, they haven't turned in the contracts of Millette, of any of the guys that they've re-signed. None of those contracts have hit the NFLPA yet. That's typical Steelers stuff. They hold on to those things and wait to put those things in until the last minute there. So who knows? Maybe they're holding on to a salary reduction for Banner or a salary reduction for Joe Schobert that's going to be turned in here in the next couple of days. So yeah, that's another reason to maybe by the 20th to know which direction they go, because if any kind of salary reductions that they do, we might not know until the 20th or so.
Okay, so yeah, still could happen, but the longer we wait, longer I start to wonder, maybe they keep those guys. They don't have a big need to clear up cap space, and you could, I guess, argue reasons for keeping both. Schobert, another year in, and he got traded so late last year in Banner. They feel like they want to try to get something out of this guy. So I don't know. I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
Here's the biggest fear: it's just those guys getting hurt at those numbers. you know.
Right.
But I mean, if they're in your plans, they're in your plans. You can't just let them walk around in bubble wrap, you know. Although that would be my choice.
So a lot of bubble wrap for Banner.
With those guys, I've got a sneaking feeling, Alex. I've had a feeling for a while now. Why wouldn't you go to Banner and say you've got to take a reduction of some sort here? I mean, this guy hasn't even played 100 snaps at tackle in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows the story there with Banner, so that's been our thought. But our assumptions are just that they've always been assumptions.
I'm not going to be too surprised if we get a couple of days from now. We're talking about a couple of salary reductions here.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have comfort with Banner? Obviously it all depends on his health, but if he stays healthy, do you think he can provide you necessary depth at that tackle position?
Well, yeah, we depth. He's not going to start. I just don't know. I don't know anything about the guy. I mean, I feel like as an offensive tackle playing in the NFL, I don't really know much about him. I mean, I understand he's a big guy, he's a run blocker, but like he just hasn't played, and so it's hard to really gauge truly who he is as a tackle.
I mean, we know more about Joe Hagan in a Steelers uniform than we do Zach Banner in a uniform, right?
Yeah, I mean, know more about Dan Moore in his Steelers uniform that he played 1 year. So I'm not sure. By the way, Steelers officially announcing their draft slots, their picks. They are still showing the Chiefs pick as conditional, but it is pick 208. And so we'll probably write that up later on Steelers Depot. All the official draft slots are in for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
All right, Dave, should mention one last piece of news. If that was not all enough information to keep us busy for one day, Pittsburgh announced the hiring of their assistant offensive line coach. That is Isaac Williams, will become new head offensive line coach. Is Pat Myers, his assistant. Isaac Williams, I'll admit, Dave, a name I did not know. And I imagine almost nobody knew who Isaac Williams is, coming over from North Carolina Central. Has also coached at Morgan State, Northern Colorado. And so this is a big jump for him. The question will be, why this guy and how did they find him? I do not know that for sure. My guess is that Pat Meyer knew him because he's been in Carolina the last 2 years. Again, Williams coaching in North Carolina Central. So maybe there was some overlap there, some relationship there. And Pittsburgh said, Meyer, just go get your guy, someone that you're friends with or that you know well and believe can do the job. But Isaac Williams, the new assistant O-line coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, we knew they're probably going to have to fill that role, right? So I don't know if I haven't gone deep to find out any links or connect the dots. You obviously have done a little bit more than I have there. Let's see. We have Kevin Colbert, Steelers assistant, Brian Flores, Mike Tomlin also at the pro day here.
Okay, so the Brian Flores, like I mentioned earlier, I thought he could be one of those guys there. Watching some of the linebackers, just being in that environment, good set of eyes to have. So we'll see if anyone else is there. I mean, is that the whole list, or is that just, did you see him on TV, or is there a tweet?
This is a tweet here. I'm fixing to retweet it out right now here. Also, Brian Flores is also at UGA. So yeah, those are the names: Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, seen here, along with Brian Flores.
Okay, so yeah, not surprised to see those guys there checking out that great Georgia defense that was the best in college football this past year and has just a million pieces of talent there. And so, yeah, back to Isaac Williams. Yeah, don't know the connection. I'm doing a very loose connection just based on the geography of it, just trying to, because I was trying to think this guy do like a fellowship program, some minority program that maybe Pittsburgh was involved in. I could not find that information, and maybe they just found him on a scouting trail. I mean, I don't know the story there, so I can't tell you a thing about Isaac Williams really, but it's important to have that assistant offensive line coach to be able to give more specialized attention to the group as opposed to one coach trying to, teach 15 different guys and tackles and guards and centers. It's good because usually they're going to break those guys up in camp. One guy will take the interior guys, one guy will take the tackles, and you get more specialized attention.
You don't get too much out of just an interview, but I did enjoy that short little interview that was on Facebook. Did he put that in the post yesterday?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, just if anybody wants to research the what is it, North Carolina State
Central.
If you go to that Facebook page or just research him and that page, it's a nice little short interview about him, just some of his thoughts and philosophy. Just quick, kind of, don't be the guy. We don't want them talking about the offensive line. The less that they're saying about the offensive line, the better,
Right.
kind of thing. But just really upbeat kind of guy.
Cool. May have to ask Tim Rice because he's got some photos of him. He's covered North Carolina Central, all those schools down there, and so he's got actually a good photo of Isaac Williams, and so may lean on Tim there for some inside information.
There you go.
All right, Dave. Again, UGA Pro Day today. Some other ones too. There were some other notable Pro Days. I think Minnesota is today. We'll see maybe if someone's going up there to watch Fa'alele. What other Pro Days were today? I think Colorado, which I don't think really has any major prospects there, but they're starting to ramp up here. So we've not found any coordinators or positional coaches at Pro Days yet. We found some, scouts, area scouts and stuff like that. But yeah, today, Colorado, Georgia, Michigan State. So Connor Hayward working out Minnesota, San Jose State as well. But yeah, Georgia, Michigan State, Minnesota, the big ones to watch out for.
So yeah, and any who are the most notable just area scouts of what we've seen so far, right?
Yeah, I've not been able to find anyone above that. No positional coaches, no coordinators. Again, obviously Tomlin, Colbert, Flores today at Georgia. No surprise there. I assume they had somebody at Western Michigan. I've not been able to find that yet. I've had a tough time trying to do that. I got to think they sent someone there to go see Sky Moore, but I've not been able to confirm that yet.
Okay, and that tracker, I need to get that. What I need to do is remind me, Alex. I need to get that tracker linked up to the top of the navigational bar on SteelersDepot.com on the homepage, so that'll make it easy for everybody to go to and see.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I'll push it up whenever I add to it, but yeah, it would be good to have that sticky. And then Clemson's Pro Day is tomorrow, so that'll be one I'm sure people will be at as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, kind of wrap up here. I know this is not relevant really for Steelers time anymore, but we've mentioned Deshaun Watson so much. I'm getting a strong feeling later today will be the time when we know where Deshaun Watson is going. The teams who are in play, based on reports, are the Saints, the Panthers, the Falcons are coming in late, and the Browns. And the Browns seem to be breaking up here with Baker Mayfield, regardless of whether or not they get Deshaun Watson. I do not view them as a front runner to get Watson right now, but it seems like even if they don't, Baker Mayfield's going to be traded at some point here. He will not be the Browns quarterback again. That's kind of the sense of things. So Watson, we'll see. It sounds like Saints might be the leader. I still think Panthers have a shot. Those are kind of, to me, the top two teams, and the Browns will have to find a new quarterback.
I mean, what are they doing, right? I mean, I don't think it, I mean, is it totally out of the question they land? Well, I would have never guessed Cleveland going into this thing with Watson, and I would have never guessed the Falcons would have been in play in this as well, right? But here we are.
Yeah, I mean, here we are. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know how the Saints are going to do it. I don't really understand what the Falcons are going to do with Matt Ryan's contract. Obviously, he'd have to get traded. I assume not go to Houston, go somewhere else. So it's been a while, but I think today we'll finally get our answer. I don't know that for a fact, obviously, but just kind of he's met with the teams. He did his civil testimony yesterday. Like today, I think it's going to be the day.
What's going to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo? They are getting into a very unique, weird situation. Is he going to be part of this kind of last minute quarterback shuffle here that we find out maybe today or something? I don't,
maybe
I don't got a good sense on that.
The team that's been linked, it was like Pittsburgh and the Colts were linked with Garoppolo. Obviously, Pittsburgh took Trubisky, so the Colts seem to be like the best and maybe only option he could go to right now. The Colts are not getting Watson. They tried to. Obviously, Houston shut that down, not trading him in the AFC South. So I feel like it's Colts or bust. We want to get the shoulder injury, the contract. It's a complicated situation. So I feel like he's either going to go to Indy or they may have to keep him.
I mean, there's no chance that they just release him outright, right?
What's the cap hit on that?
I mean, 20 something, 25, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, then I really don't think that's going to be an option. I think you might just end up keeping him if you can't trade him at that point.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but and the Browns at quarterback, are they going to draft somebody? Are they going to go steal a Malik Willis, or what are they going to do?
I mean, there's no way that you wouldn't think that there's any way that they were going to go with a rookie quarterback here. this next go around, right?
I mean, who are they going to get then? Jameis? I mean,
got to be there might be some sort of last minute kind of shuffle that goes on here, with some of these quarterbacks. I tell you what, Baker Mayfield's not happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have to think the Browns had already resigned themselves to moving on from Baker before they met with Watson. Because why would you meet with Watson knowing you probably aren't going to get him? Because meeting with Watson basically means we're not rolling with you, Baker. So it was a weird decision to attempt to get Watson, knowing you probably wouldn't get him, and just anger Mayfield in the process.
Yeah, and I'm not sure he did it. Baker should just stay off social media, but that's I don't think he did himself any favors by announcing what he did with not having finality of what's going to happen here. It's going to be a real awkward situation if he stays now.
Yeah, but I can't see how he stays. Like, if you go after Watson, you're telling Baker, we don't trust you, we're looking elsewhere. I mean, I just cannot see the circumstances in which Baker Mayfield is the Browns quarterback in week 1.
You've never gone back to a jilted ex before?
I know that's probably more in your wheelhouse, Dave.
I mean, it can happen.
I mean, it could, but I don't know. There's already a lot of tension there, and this seems to add more tension to it. And I don't see how that goes remotely well if Baker's. I mean, maybe because like pissed off Baker seems to be the best version of Baker, like with a big chip on his shoulder. But it just feels like the Browns are basically saying that we're moving on here.
Man, when did they sign Hooper? Was that had he been there 2 seasons?
It sounds right? I think he just finished up his 2nd season. Yeah, it sounds right.
Okay. That didn't go too well, did it?
No, it did not. And Njoku somehow ended up being a better. Like, he was about to be traded. He wanted out, then he stays and is happy. And Hooper's now being released. Yeah, 2 seasons in Cleveland for Austin Hooper.
Okay. So. All right. Well, look, we're going to have a lot more to talk about. All this is going to be old news real quick. In the term the kids use, evergreen. Is that what it is? All this stuff that we're talking about. But we have you have another breakdown on James Daniels on the site now. I think we have Jonathan Heitritter doing something on Levi Wallace, right?
Yeah, he's working on Wallace. That'll probably be up here within the next couple hours later today. We'll let you know on that. But yeah, breakdowns on all these guys from every angle. From a contract standpoint, you're doing a great job breaking down things contractually. Tape standpoint, we're working on as well. Covering the draft. It has been as busy of a couple of days as anything, Dave. I mean, usually free agency for Pittsburgh, it's very calm, quiet. Couple of resignings, maybe one veteran guy they go out there and get on the cheap, but it has been just rapid fire names and hirings and draft stuff. It has been a busy couple of days on Steelers Depot. That hamster wheel is really running strong.
And here's the other thing here is after these moves are announced at 4:00 later today by the Steelers, next couple of days, we're going to have a couple of interviews to have to cover with, you would think, with some new guys, especially Mitch Trubisky and things of that nature there. So it's going to continue on through the weekend here. Having just some tremendous traffic days on the site. Thank you for all of you who listen and go to the site and read. And again, the guys and girls are just doing a fantastic job keeping content up there. How about a couple of emails before we get out of here?
Yep, let's get to read your emails and close out today's show.
Pastor Joe Green writes, Dave and Alex, love the site, love the show. Question 1, O-line tackles are set. Daniels at right guard. That leaves Green, Dotson, and Cole still standing when the music stops and only 2 chairs available. Who goes where? Pastor Green, I think we already kind of talked about that. He does offer his take. He says his take, Green, they hope can win the center job. Dotson, they hope can win the left guard job, leaving Cole to be the high-quality interior swing man, something they haven't had in a while. He says, I know that Cole was signed for a tidy sum, but not really starter money, question mark. At least that's my hope. However, what likely happens is Green becomes the interior swing guy, he writes. Question 2, what are we to date on the cap? How much do we still have? Enough for an inside linebacker? Joe Green, they have enough. Period. That's how I answer that one. I just gave you the total earlier. We're waiting on a couple exact contract numbers on a few of these guys. How do we still have left enough for an inside linebacker? Absolutely they do. And they have enough to do what they need to do.
Yeah, they do. But first things first, let's see what happens with Joe Schobert. And then, yeah, I mean, could Cole become the high quality swing guy? Maybe, but you look around the league, guards making more, centers making more than $5 million almost all those guys are starters. I'm not sure if I can find one backup. And so to me, that is starter money. It's not super high end starter money, but it is starter money all the same. So we'll see. I'm sure Green will have a chance to compete and see if he grows. If he shows tremendous development, then, you certainly could roll with him. But I'm entering right now thinking Cole's going to be the starter somewhere, probably more center than right guard.
Bryce, hey guys, it's Bryce. The news keeps coming in. Wallace, Daniels, and Cole are really nice pieces. Some other thoughts. When anyone mentioned the name Mitchell Trubisky to the Steelers, I openly said they needed to be drug tested. Well, just go ahead and put me in a clown suit because they were right and I was dead wrong. Look, I told you, and look, even our own Alexa Delarocco fired some people up the other day, I think, when she had that terrible take saying, this is a guy that could potentially be the Steelers guy. And I had a feeling that if they did go the unrestricted route and didn't get involved with the Deshaun Watson or the Garoppolo stuff, that was the way that we were going to go. Now, you don't have to like it. I don't think anybody should throw a parade around this signing. As Alex and I have said, I will tell you this, since the Trubisky signing happened, or word that the signing was happening there, I think they're addressing this thing at least right when it comes to trying to surround him with some offensive linemen and those kind of things there. You can't put him in the position where you're expecting him to do it all.
Right. Yeah. Again, they cannot put a lot on his plate. He'll have to manage the game. I think it'll be a restricted offense, very much run through Canada's ideals, for simplified reads to utilize Trubisky's mobility, his overall decent arm and things like that. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's taken the right approach and has built this thing out right so far in free agency.
He goes on to write, since mostly, let's see, because I still think limits the Steelers' offense, rollouts, boots, and outside of the pocket action will be the primary mode of the passing game. I guess we'll see how far that can go, he said, since the offense will again have to rely heavy on the run game to have any consistent success. Should the Steelers consider drafting a number 2 running back in the early rounds to ensure that to ensure that they can keep things going in case Najee gets injured? I look at it like the old Cowher philosophy: can't have enough good backs when your offense is on the run. Your thoughts? I think you're out of your mind, Bryce, if you want this team to draft a number 2 running back early in this draft. I think you really have lost it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but I understand the point. Like, if the whole offense is built around Harris, like Tomlin's ideals have always been about one workhorse guy, and if you lose that guy, your whole offensive blueprint goes out the window. And so, like, how do you protect yourself with that? And it's a very tricky line to walk because you don't want to spend a second round pick on a guy after you just spent a first round pick on a guy last year. But also, what is your plan B if Harris, at a position where guys notoriously get hurt all the time? What if he goes down? There is no workhorse back. There isn't even like another good runner on this roster right now. So I understand the concern there, but I cannot see this team spending a day 1 or day 2 pick on the position.
Right.
But I mean, what is the answer to like protecting yourself again and ensuring yourself against Harris's getting hurt? Because like if you lose him this year, especially, something like you can hand the ball to Ben and be like, go run this thing. Like you can't do that with Trubisky. So you're in a really tight spot then.
You better bring in a lot of guys that undrafted free agents. To me, fix the damn line.
Right.
And the running back position is fungible. I mean, we've seen some teams throw out some, and like it or not, when the dust clears here in a little bit after this first push of free agency is over with, there's going to be some of those kind of younger, part-time running backs out there at a good price. So you can bring probably one of those guys in to kind of compete on this thing. I don't know where they stand on Anthony McFarland Jr. right now. Obviously, it's not great, but they haven't cut him yet, nor should they unless he just doesn't want to play football any longer. Maybe you can get something with him this year.
Maybe, but it feels like that light is dimming pretty quickly, and he kind of lacks the workhorse size that Tomlin likes. But yeah, that might be the answer. What you said, just improve that offensive line. So if a running back does go down, if Harris does get hurt, your backup running back will just have some baseline running room to get at least what's blocked and maybe a little bit more. So it's tricky, but yeah, a good offensive line will certainly mask any injuries in the backfield.
And that's been my thought on this for a little while anyway. And look, you got Najee. He better not come on. I realize there's going to be the want after the kind of the touches that he had last year to kind of save him. But why'd you draft? If you draft that guy number one, you got to use him. And he is an all-purpose running back there, every down running back. So fix the line, and the rest of it should fall in place. Would be my thought, regardless of who's back there.
Well said.
Let's see, what else do we have? Chris Warren, I would like to challenge one thing you guys said during last night's podcast. I don't see any reason why Trubisky cannot be better than what we got from Ben last season. For the last couple of years, Ben had no time to throw the ball down the field. He still attempted to, more so than most people realize, but he was nearly always rushed and not all that accurate. This year, we seem to be much more committed to the field, being a better offensive line. That means the running game will improve significantly, and Trubisky should have time to throw. In other words, I think Ben would have been a lot better with the O-line that I expected us to field this year. No, Trubisky isn't Aaron Rodgers, but isn't it possible that he could be our version of Ryan Tannehill? Maybe that is good enough, he says.
Well, I understand. Anytime your offensive line is better, your quarterback's going to have a better time back there. And again, as I mentioned on the podcast, there are particular things that Trubisky does better than Ben. Obviously, he's more mobile. I think he does have a better arm downfield overall. But I'm talking about like the intangibles of it all, and that stuff Trubisky's not going to bring that Ben certainly had in spades. So I understand the point you're making, Ben was not great last year, but just some of the intangible stuff, handling all the newness that existed for that offense. Like Ben was the one guy that stayed the same. All those things you really can't calculate, to me, was really valuable last year.
Are people trying to talk themselves? They're trying to talk themselves into Mitch Trubisky more now.
Yeah,
now that he's one of theirs.
Now that he's the guy. Yeah, and I get that instinct there, and I'm not criticizing that, but. And again, I think schematically, I think it's a better fit in terms of like what Canada wants to do. But I mean, I'm not expecting Trubisky to come in and save the day.
What I said on the terrible take and what we said the other night on the podcast reigns supreme here. If they want to be better than last year, and if they want to make the playoffs, you have got to run the football better. You've got to put this offense in a lot more favorable situations here, and it all starts with running the football. That's going to make Mitchell Trubisky a better overall quarterback. I don't know if you've gone back and watched the Manning the detail episode with Manning on Trubisky, but he pointed out just a lot of little things when it comes to mechanics and Trubisky. Little things like doing a better job of being more consistent with the timing and the speed of not only of his handoffs, but the way he does his play action as well too. He thinks if Trubisky just fine tunes a lot of the stuff that he can do, and that be the more repetitious stuff, with the timing of handoffs, making it, Manning goes on to say, making it all look the same. He says little things like that will help out a little bit and maybe freezing some of those linebackers and all a little bit longer. Now, this detail that Manning did on Trubisky was from a game during 2020. So obviously it's a little bit older there. And I kind of, it's hard to go off of Trubisky's preseason tape from last year, but rest assured, Trubisky will be you'll get more positive upside out of Trubisky's game the better you are able to run the football. And they're going to have to they're going to have this defense play lights out as well too. So many things have got to go right surrounded around Trubisky if this team's going to make the playoffs. And Lord knows who knows if Deshaun Watson gets in this division some way, somehow, you got to be pretty much damn solid perfect.
Where is that Manning camp? Where can we find? I would love to watch it myself.
It's on. You have to have an ESPN Insider account there, but if you have, or ESPN Plus, I should say, there. I'll try to get it to you, Alex. Try to get a copy of it to you there. But if you have an ESPN Plus account, search for detail Manning, Trubisky, and that'll get you on the page.
Yeah, Manning's always been a stickler for the details and play action, everything looking the same. And so that's no surprise to hear those comments from him for sure. Real quick, I wanted to ask you, where do you think Watson ends up? I know we've kind of played that game a lot today. To me, feels like it could be the day. I think it's Carolina or the Saints. I'm going to stick with my original prediction and say Carolina, even though I think most people are believing it'll be the Saints, but I'll say Carolina.
Yeah, I've kind of removed myself from that now at this point, other than loosely watching the news, not paying less attention to the specifics of it. Man, what the hell are the Seahawks going to do? Is it Drew Lock now?
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be the plan, right?
I don't know. They're going to go draft somebody, and they got the
I'm
ninth pick.
still going to go. I'm going to go still Seahawks, Panthers for some reason. That I'm going to think that those two teams one of those two teams is going to be the team.
All right, we'll see. So Panther, because the Seahawks I don't think have met with him, so probably more Panthers.
It might not be them, but it sure may. I sure am going to be interested to watch what they do at the quarterback position there. Yeah,
me too.
And they're signing Artie Burns type people to more than NFL minimum contracts apparently. So.
Yeah, a lot going on over in Seattle. So we'll see. Hopefully get a resolution today, or at least by the time next time we talk on the podcast about Watson's destination.
All right, let's wrap it up there. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. If you want an ad-free version, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up top, $25. Get you ad-free version of the site for a year as well too there. So until Friday, where I imagine we're going to have a ton to talk about on Friday, Alex. So happy new league year, everybody. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.